Hey guys, Reece here and welcome back to my channel. So today's a pretty special video. We're actually sitting down with a good friend of mine from my brokerage, Reece Co. He's 19 years old and 7 months into his real estate sales journey. He's already closed $130,000 in commission and is well on his way to closing $200,000 in commission by the time he's finished his year as a real estate agent. So in this video, we're diving into a little bit about how he did that, some of the pitfalls he ran into, some of the issues he's overcome as he grows his business, and we're going to touch on some of his goals for his business and some of the advice he has for agents that want to get into real estate as well and succeed in the industry, where in this industry as a real estate agent, so many people fail. So guys, this is the first part of a two-part series. This video will be talking once again about his real estate sales business. The next video, we'll be talking about how he's added 8 units to his rental property portfolio in year 1 as well. So if you're interested in that video and you're new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe so you're notified when that comes out next week. Really appreciate it. And go ahead and drop this video a like before we even get started. I'd really appreciate that as well. Helps me out as a small channel grow and reach more people looking to get into real estate. So with that said, guys, thank you so much. Let's not waste any more time. Let's jump right into the interview. So Zeke, thanks for stopping by today. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your business from the sales side of things. Maybe a little bit about your closings, your dollar value this year, and maybe your projections to the end of the year.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Reece. I'm excited to be here. So, I started off, went full-time in March, and kind of what I do as a real estate agent is I focus on investment properties.
And the cool thing is that you're, 19 years old right now?
Yeah, so I just turned 19 in May. I've always been interested in real estate. So I actually did do post-secondary in high school, so I guess I graduated with an associate's degree, decided I didn't want to do college anymore.
And so you and I chatted a little bit before we started filming this today, and I have the numbers written down here. So you became a full-time, or at least a licensed real estate agent in March, right, of 2019?
November 2019.
Okay, and you started full-time in March.
Started full-time in March 2020.
Okay, and so I have some numbers written down here. So far to date, you've had around 22 closings, correct?
Correct.
Average dollar value, $6,000 commission.
Mm-hmm.
What's that put you at? Around $200,000 sale price?
Yeah, on average about $200,000. At the beginning of the year, I told myself I wanted to make $75,000 this year. And once I started kind of taking off with my real estate sales, I decided I wanted to do 150. But at this point, I'm shooting for 200.
So I actually met Zeke about a year ago now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, about a year ago.
Through a mentor of mine, Joe. And you were working as a property manager at the time for him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when you decided you might want to get into real estate, or were you working toward your license already? And what made you, or what was the deciding factor that led you to pursue a career in real estate?
Yeah, great questions. So I've always known I've wanted to get into real estate from a young age. I've always just been interested on the HGTV shows of the Property Brothers, Fixer Upper, things like that.
They always make it look a little better than it is, though, right?
Absolutely, 100%. So I kind of always knew I wanted to get into real estate. So an opportunity arose. I was living outside of Columbus, about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Start commuting to Columbus every Thursday and Friday.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
With my school schedule, it allowed that. I did post-secondary, so
Okay.
I scheduled my classes so I could get off Thursday and Friday, come to Columbus, do an internship, pretty much just doing errands, going to a key shop, getting keys printed for properties, things like that. But on the side, learning a ton from these two guys, Joe and Carson, and then eventually they split, and then I started doing property management full-time, managed about 30 to 40 units. It was doing, anything from leasing to maintenance calls to, anything under the sun really that needed done.
And at this point in time, did you want to join Joe and Carson and then eventually property manage for Joe because you were looking to do what they do? They're full-time investors in Columbus, Ohio. Don't do too much sales though, right? So they're mostly investors. Did you initially think that's the side you wanted to dive into, Or did you know the goal was, hey, sales primarily to then pour that money into investing?
Great question. So I think that the end goal was to get into sales, do real estate.
Okay.
I've always had a business mind from a young age, started several different businesses. Shaved ice stands.
Oh yeah,
those paracord bracelets when those were a thing.
Uh-huh.
I raised chickens and sold eggs. I lived in the
Really?
country. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've always been kind of in sales, and that's kind of what I was working towards.
Okay.
But then that's kind of what got me interested in investing in real estate.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of always been in the back of my mind, like, hey, I'd like to own a couple properties here and there.
Yep.
So time passed by, and Joe, who is now my mentor, he gave me the push I needed to go out on my own. He's like, hey, you don't love what you're doing right now. You have more potential to do sales. Mm-hmm. And pretty much gave me the boot. That was the scariest thing ever for me.
I bet.
I knew I wanted to, and I had already been licensed at that point. I wasn't practicing. He gave me like 2 months that kind of helped me because he did some sales here and there. So he kind of started training me a little bit, just give me tips and pointers. Not something he did full time. He had great advice. But not exactly all the tools I needed. So at the time I was with a brokerage, and I was just kind of doing my own thing, wasn't really practicing. So I switched brokerages to the brokerage I'm with now, Reece MAY, where I really started to learn and really started to grow my knowledge of brokering deals.
And that's when sales started to take off as well for you too, because you were, we spoke earlier and you said that being surrounded by people that were succeeding in the industry really helped you start to increase your game as well.
100%, 100%, yeah. I owe a lot of my success to the people I've surrounded myself with. But yeah, once I made that switch to Reece MAY and went full time in March with the minor slide, that's kind of where it picked up. That's also when COVID happened.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a very scary moment for me.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, I'm in the middle of a pandemic. I don't have a job, and I'm doing sales when no one's wanting to buy anything.
Yeah. Which we quickly found out though that's not really the case in Columbus, right?
Absolutely. Columbus is a super hot market. It's actually hotter than it was this year and last year.
Yeah.
I think you have this question later, but I'll just go ahead and get to it.
Sure.
Kind of how I went from zero to kind of having like a business model.
Yeah.
Was doing cold calls.
Gotcha. Is that how you started growing the business? Is just hitting the phones and doing cold calls, or
absolutely.
cold texting? In
yeah,
your case?
Absolutely. So I have kind of been trained in that already when I worked for the investment company I started with.
Okay.
Kind of got trained in cold calling. Skip tracing, which is just finding the owner of a property and their number. So I kind of started off doing just cold calls because I had all this time. I was at home because we had a stay-at-home order.
Yeah.
I had all this time. I didn't have a ton of clients. I didn't have any money. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just made this switch. I was kind of, trying to start off doing my own thing. But I said, hey, I know cold calling works. That's how I found my first deal, which, we'll get to later. So I just started hitting the phones. I hate cold calling because a lot of times you just get cursed out. So I started cold texting, and you still get cursed out, but it's not as painful. So I started doing a lot of cold text.
And now when you were doing these cold texts, was this primarily to find clients to then help them buy or sell, or was this to, you're searching for your own investment property, which we'll dive into that business model in the next video.
Yeah.
But what was the primary focus when doing these cold texts?
A little bit of both, but mostly for my clients. I know Columbus is very much so a seller's market. So if you have a deal, you can find a buyer. Yeah. And that's how you make money. Yeah. So I said, hey, I'm going to find these deals. I'm going to work my butt off to try to find these deals, and I know I'll be able to find a buyer, even though I didn't have much clients at that time. Yeah.
Starting off as a very young agent, that probably had to be a little intimidating. Did you have any issues, as a young agent getting clients? And I'll interject here real quick and say, maybe not, because if you're bringing those great deals, nobody cares how old you are at this point. They want a great deal. But go ahead and...
No, that's a fantastic question, and something that I have struggled with at times. But really, what I love about what I do is people don't care how old you are. Yeah. if the numbers work, the numbers
Yeah.
work. Like, it's investment properties. People are here to make money, and if you can help them do that, and you have the knowledge and confidence to get them there,
Yeah.
then they're gonna work with you.
Yeah.
If you're trying to close these multi-million-dollar single families that they're gonna live in, a lot of times people are looking for the old farts, you know, who are driving the Cadillacs. But really, with investments, what people love to see is just young guys hustling, finding deals, and putting stuff together.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about the industry I'm in. I'm not capped by my age, not capped about how many hours I work or, you know, who I have to, you know, impress to get to the next level. My success is based on how hard I work.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to, you know, some of it has to do with luck, some of it has to do with connections, but a lot of it has to do with just your work ethic. And to answer your question, I've definitely thought like, hey, this person's not going to want to work with me because I'm only 19 years old, but I'm very confident in what I do.
And you've educated yourself, and you're like you said, competent. So you know, people see like, oh, this guy's 19, but he knows what he's talking about,
Absolutely.
right? So.
And yeah, real estate is life for me. I have dug into the process a lot, and I think people see that and they feel that. I really know what I'm doing, and like I'm good at it, and people see that and want to work with me. So that's been a large part of my success.
So the next thing I really wanted to talk about is there's a study, I found it on mashvisor.com, that around 80% of new agents either fail or give up in real estate their first year. And you know, this includes the retail, residential, and investment property. But what do you think are maybe one or two reasons why you've been able to succeed, or a few traits that you have that have led you to, you know, a six-figure career in year one?
It's definitely daunting at times knowing that if you don't produce, you're not going to have food on the table.
Yeah.
But some of the things that I think have really helped my success is who I have in my back corner. I have family and friends who are super encouraging, just with everything I do, and I think that's really important. If you have a spouse, you need to make sure they're on board with what you're doing 100%.
Yeah.
Because you need them in your corner when you come home and you've been cold calling for 8 hours and all you've got is F-offs.
Yeah.
Another thing is just sticking it through. My first 3 months were not great. You know, I was on track to make 30, 40, you know, not that much. There's going to be days that are really low, and there's going to be days that are really great. It's going to go up and down, and that's real estate. You just got to stick out the lows and you'll get to those highs. But also, you know, the generic answer, you just got to work hard. You got to put in the hours when you don't want to put in the hours. And you have to do things that you may not want to do and you're uncomfortable with. A lot of these things I was not comfortable with. But the more you do the things you're not comfortable with, the more comfortable you become with them. So I think that's something that's definitely helped, you know, defeat the odds and become that 20%, you know, who's still doing this.
I think we got to put you in the top 5% of this dollar amount. I'm not positive. I'd have to look that up, but I think 20% is a little generous at that point. But the other point I want to touch on is, do you think the, you know, specializing in investment property had something to do with it? So obviously you're very well educated in investment property. But do you think kind of niching down and not just chasing those, you know, high dollar value homes, or, you know, maybe instead settling for those $100,000 or $200,000 investment properties, do you think that helped at all, at least in the beginning?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Like I was kind of touching on earlier, with these investment properties, it's a numbers game. And I like working with investments more, because if I can get my client a good deal, they're gonna buy that, opposed to a single family. Maybe if you bring them a good deal but they don't like the paint color, they're not gonna buy that. So I think it's definitely helped with, you know, having a niche on investment properties has definitely been great, just because first, that's what I'm very passionate about. Secondly, there's a lot that goes into it, and once you kind of know, people are gonna, you know, look to you for knowledge, and they're gonna want to work with you. But also, you can get all these off-market deals. You can build a business around that. You can work hard, and you can, you know, it's easier to kind of build a business, I feel like, from investment properties, just because with single families, or I guess just residential, like if you're going to live in a property, people are kind of looking for a year experience, or, you know, how many years do you have of experience, opposed to how good this property works for their numbers.
Sure. Now, you were saying how that those first 3 months you were kind of you were making sales, but you were not going to hit your your goal of $100,000 in year one or whatever it was. Was there ever a point in time where you thought, maybe being a real estate agent wasn't going to work out, maybe you wouldn't succeed and you'd have to go either to college or grab a desk job at some point in time?
Yeah, I've definitely had those moments. I think I went like a month without getting anything in a contract.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to make any money this month. I need to go I need to go be a waiter, or I need to go do something, because this is not going to work out.
And probably the worst part of that is that it's not that you're not working, it's that you're working a ton, you're 50, 60 hours a week, and nothing's happened.
And that's the most discouraging thing ever, is you putting in this work, putting in these hours, and there's no result. But there is definitely light at the end of the tunnel. There's going to be lows, but there's been months where I've made more than I would have made in a year. Actually, the past 4 months have been that way. Really?
Now that you are making some money and you are making beyond a livable wage at this point, how have you stayed motivated? If you do hit $200,000, nobody at 19 years old needs $200,000 to live off of, right? Obviously, after taxes, you're not going to see half that, but the point is, how have you kept yourself motivated at this point when you are making money?
Yeah, great question. So I'm a very competitive guy, and I see these big dogs out here doing $500,000 a year, and I want to surpass them. I don't ever really tell people my age. I don't really want people to give me a leg up because I'm younger. I want to be competing with the agents who have been doing this 10, 15 years. It's something I really enjoy. The money's great, don't get me wrong, but being on the top 20 or the top 30 agents in Columbus is really what I'm striving towards. And I'm not going to get there doing 150, 200 a year, but also just kind of building. The whole reason I'm kind of doing this is to build wealth and to invest in properties. With investing in properties, that requires a lot of capital. So I know I've made $130,000 so far, but there's not that much money in my bank account.
Because that's all been in the properties we'll talk about in the next video.
Absolutely.
That's a great point you just brought up, that you might be making a ton of money income-wise, but you've pushed all that money into your investments, whereas now, if you go maybe 3-4 months without a sale, you have no money to live off anymore, because you're staying kind of that mindset of staying broke, where you're pushing that money into investments, whereas now the bank account, has a couple $1,000s in it or whatever, right?
100%.
So that probably helps out.
Absolutely.
Is the staying hungry.
I cannot go a month without making anything. I've got expensive coming up. I spend money on different softwares and leads, and at this point I have to keep going. Of course I could cancel stuff, but I'm not going to.
You don't want to go backwards at this point.
Surrounding myself with people that are doing really good, and talking to them and seeing what they're doing, I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Or what they're buying, different properties and stuff, I want a $1 million, 20 unit or whatever. 15 probably.
That little tinge of, you're obviously happy for your colleagues succeeding, but it's also like, oh, you sold $1 million investment or $1 million 8 unit or something like that. It's always like, I need to find a $1.5 million 12 unit or something.
It's a lot of competition for me. I was super into sports in high school, really into competition. So that's a huge motivator for me.
So you said that you can't miss a sale, you can't miss a month without sales, because you have software you're paying for now, you're probably spending money on leads. That's the next thing I kind of wanted to talk on, is that a lot of new real estate agents, they don't really know where to start, where to find that first couple clients. And with you haven't closed $3 million homes, you've closed 22 ballpark in 7 months. To get 22 closings, you have to have a lot more in contract, and that means even a lot more prospects coming in. So I guess let's touch on, where did you get those first few clients from, and then take it to today, how are you lead generating now, and where are those coming from?
So that's something I really struggled with my first couple months, and something a lot of people are going to struggle with their first couple months, just because, there's a lot that goes into it. But kind of diving right in, I let everyone know I was a real estate agent. You know, rather it's, you know, the barber at the barber shop or, you know, Frank the neighbor or whatever. Everyone knew I was a real estate agent. So I, you know, started off working with some friends, just some sphere of influence that I knew. But really, what really picked up my business is when I started cold calling.
Okay.
So I would call people, and, you know, say, hey, are you looking to sell your property? A lot of no's, like a 1% success ratio, if that. I'd call 1,000 numbers, I guess 0.1, and maybe sell a property or something like that. So cold calling is necessary. Friends and family. Also another one is just like online forums. So different websites, you know, have different people coming to them. Investors, you can meet a lot of people that way. That's where I've got a lot of my success from as well.
And let me pull you back real quick to the start. So when you got those, you know, sphere of influence, those first couple friends, did you kind of, you know, you specialize in investment property, would you still help them if, say, hey, you had a friend looking to buy a single family house, right? Yeah. That's not your specialty. Did you say, well, you know, I am pursuing investment, but forget it, I will help anybody right now because that's, you know, starting my business? Or did you stay laser focused on investments only?
I took any lead I could get, and I still will take any lead I can get. So if a single family comes along, I'm gonna, you know, help someone buy that.
Sure.
So yeah, absolutely, answer your question. Yeah, I would take something like that, and even if I got a property or someone interested in, you know, properties around $50,000 or $100,000, where, you know, my commission's not that much, I'm still taking that, because you never know when that person might have a friend, or that person might have more money, you know, that they want to spend on real estate.
That's a door that you might close if you were to throw away that $50,000 lead that might only be a $1,000 commission, $1,500 commission.
And that's,
but they might have 3 friends looking to buy investment property 5 years down the road. Or
exactly, and that's something you just have to do in real estate. You cannot turn away opportunities like that. You've got to, every door you come to, you got to open it, and, you know, sometimes you might get screwed or it might not work out. Other times, you know, great things happen out of that.
Gotcha. And now, sorry to interrupt you, but bringing that to today, you know, has your business grown to be more referral based, where you're getting referrals from those past clients, or, you know, are you spending money on lead gen? Are you how have you scaled to now? Where because you know, we talked earlier, your goal is to get this into mid 6 figures, maybe 500,000 at some point within the next year or two. You know, that takes a lot of leads. Where are you going from here?
Absolutely, great question. So I've been exploring a lot of different options. I've been doing social media marketing, online forum marketing. Right now it's been probably like $1,000 a month on leads. I really want to bump that. So to bump that, I need to make more. Which is another motivating factor.
I was just gonna say that's another thing. The expenses go up, and obviously the profit goes up as well. But you know, that's you can't give up on sales for a month and take a long vacation. You've got those bills coming in. So.
Exactly. And and to answer your other question, I'm starting to get referrals in. Starting to get people, you know, saying, hey, I have this real estate agent who did great. Getting a lot of, you know, different my online platforms. I'm getting referrals, getting reviews done, so people can kind of see that, you know, I have, you know, done really good deals with people. So that's kind of something I'm gearing towards now, is really building my social media presence, building my online forum presence, and also spending money to make money. So kind of how I am looking at everything, and my mentor told me this, is you got to look at your lead as like a funnel. So you got to get that big top, and you got to throw everything in there you can, you know, neighbor Frank, you know, barber, whatever, and you got to throw them all in there, and a lot of them are going to fall out on the way. But it's going to funnel down, and you may throw 10 leads in, you might get 1 sale.
So I guess the next question would be, you know, what does the average work day look like for you? So, you know, you're continuously prospecting. One thing we talked about is you never only are working one deal. You always have a few in contract. You're negotiating a few others. You've got prospects that you need to nurture. You're also managing investing, and you property manage those investments. You know, what does the average work day look like for you, and how do you organize and manage all these different, you know, fingers of your business?
They kind of give you an average day. Things are going to look different, but I'll, you know, start off following up with emails, maybe from the past, you know, night, following up with all the emails. just working the deals I have in contract already, just kind of getting deals to the finish line that I've gotten in contract. But a lot of my days now consist of just, finding different systems to make things easier.
Gotcha. You've started automating those different aspects of your business.
And that's something I'm trying to do right now is automation and delegation, because as a real estate agent, after you get up to like 250 to 300K, you really start struggling, like having time to do everything.
So what kind of breakdown do you, on average, do you think you spend towards prospecting for new deals, and then the working the current ones to close? How do you spend substantially more time looking for new deals, or?
Yeah. Okay. So absolutely. So that's something that, bringing new deals is most important to me. I mean, of course, getting the deals I already have in contract closed. But once they're in contract, it's a lot easier. Yeah. So I'm doing a ton of time prospecting. Probably 50% of what I do is prospecting, talking to different people. I work with a lot of out-of-state clients, so just talking with people, giving them an idea of Columbus, answering questions like that, getting them set up on a search, getting them set up in my systems, my CRM. So a lot of prospecting, but the other 50% is kind of split between building my team, building my systems, and bringing deals to the closing table.
So another great question I'd love to ask is, Columbus is a super competitive market. Inventory is next to nothing. Finding a great investment property on market, I wouldn't say impossible, but ton of competition out there. Yeah. Part of your business is finding those off-market deals, one for yourself and one for your clients. How do you structure that, and how do you find your clients great deals, whether on market or off market?
Yeah, great question. So this is something that's had a lot of success for what I do. And there's kind of four different sources that I get my clients deals. So the first one just being off market deals. I have a team member now, I'm mentee, and I'm about to hire some VAs to start doing these cold calls for me because I don't really have much time anymore to do them. So I'll get a lot of, and I'm still getting deals from, when I was cold texting 6 months ago, they're finally responding saying, hey, I'm ready to sell. So I kind of keep a kind of like a folder open of all these deals, and when I get a deal, what I'll do for my clients is I'll get a write-up, and I'll have my mentee do this, or a VA, and they'll pretty much just give you comps in the area, different rents, and I'll send those out to my clients. So there's the off-market deals. I also do a lot of connecting. It's all about networking, so I'll do a lot of just talking with realtors, and I'll get a lot of pocket listings that I'll send out, which is really important for a market like Columbus since it's so competitive. If you can get a deal and not have to outbid someone, that alone is going to save you so much money. But I also am on almost like every wholesale list in Columbus, and then of course just online or on market deals. So kind of 4 different ways that I'll get my clients deals. And also I'm very responsive. So if a deal hits the market at 6 p.m. at night, I have an offer in at 7. Yeah. And I'm bugging that realtor like crazy. I'm like, hey, are you going to accept? Are you going to accept? What do we need to do to get this accepted? And that's kind of how you beat out competition in Columbus, is just getting stuff in quickly and kind of just bugging them about it, getting them to accept. So that's kind of how I work with that.
And that's what your clients are getting from you. The cool thing, like we talked about earlier, is that with investment property, age is no issue. So we've got, you're hungry for success. You're hungry to help your clients find great deals. You're churning through off-market leads. You're sending off-market deals that nobody else in Columbus has. Yeah. And that's what your clients are getting. So clients want to work with you because you're providing something nobody else is, no matter your age. Doesn't matter at this point. So super cool. One thing I'd love to ask you before we close this out is, there's a lot of people watching my channel here that would like to get into real estate sales, real estate investing. And they have that goal, 6 figures year 1, 6 figures at some point in time.
Yeah, definitely.
What are maybe 1 or 2 things you'd recommend to anybody who's working on getting their license now or in the future to help them kind of jumpstart their business and succeed and not be that 80% that fail?
I think one of the most important things that has helped me be successful is just the people that I've surrounded myself with. So I would find a brokerage that caters towards what you want and has good training, but also putting yourself around people who are going to drive you to be successful, and that's usually people who are better than you at what they do. Gotcha. So that's the biggest thing, but also educating yourself so when a client asks you a question, you have an answer. And that's going to help you be successful, that's going to help you be reputable for having, you know, just the knowledge of what you do. So those two things, and just hustling.
Yeah, I have to imagine, as being a young agent, you know, you've got the energy, you've got the time right now, so there's no reason you shouldn't be responsive. Your answer should always be yes, you know, if you're available to help with things. And like you said, hustle.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has a lot to do with it, just being a yes man.
And then we'll go ahead and close this video out with, you know, what's next for you? You know, potentially 200,000 in year one here. You know, what is the goal? What's next year's goal? Maybe what's 5-year goal from now? How are you going to build your business, and what are your commission goals?
Yeah, next year, my goal is to do 300K in commission. Year following, $500,000.
Awesome.
And with that said, I'm sure we'll probably get into this with the next video, but I want to have 20 units before I turn 20.
Awesome.
So that's kind
one
of
more year.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I think that's a pretty big goal of mine, and also a net worth of $1 million by 21.
By 21. Awesome. Well, it's been great to have you here for this video. Obviously, we're sticking around. We're gonna have the real estate investing video on how you've built up your portfolio in year one, 8 units so far. So I really appreciate you stopping by, answering our questions on how you became a successful real estate agent. Super cool. We'll have to have you back here next year, reflecting on that $300,000 goal.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Super impressive. Thank you for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
So guys, thanks for checking out the video today. Once again, please go ahead and leave this video a like and subscribe if you like this content and want to be notified when next week's video comes out about how Zeke here built his 8-unit portfolio in just about the last year. We'll dive into some little nuggets of information Zeke has for us on that front. So once again, really appreciate you all. I'll see you in the next video.